have a heck of a lot of time for this panel with Jim and Amanda. I'm Bruce Taragin from Blumberg Capital. It's great to be here. I understand from folks that have been here that there haven't been a lot of Q&A and participation from the audience, so we're going to test you at the end, and we're going to hope that people have questions. I don't know if they can pass around a mic, and they try to blind all of us up here so we can't really see anything. But hopefully we can, if anyone has questions, they can raise their hand, we'll pass around a mic and get some interaction. And then I'd like to take a moment just to have Jim and Amanda introduce themselves before we get started. So Jim, why don't you jump in with SQ1 currently?
Yeah, it is SQ1. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Wow, okay. I'm Jim Badum. I work with SQ1. We're a digital agency based in Dallas. We have offices in Portland and Houston. We're actually a very old legacy advertising agency that about 7 years ago decided to get out of the traditional advertising world, and we resigned a bunch of our clients and just focused on digital. So we're doing very well now and excited about our relationship with Shell and Jiffy Lube.
Who are some of the other clients that you guys work with?
Michael's Stores. We just started working with BJ's Restaurants. We work for, we do other work for Shell, Francesca's,
Great.
Dr. Pepper, other companies.
Amanda, take it away.
Hi, I'm the head of digital marketing for Jiffy Lube, and I guess my role can really be summed up in one question that I'd like to ask you guys. So, who here gets really excited about getting your oil changed in your car? Oh, I see a few hands, and you guys are lying. It's my job to help make that relationship between your vehicle and your oil change provider a less anxiety-filled experience. And any way we can do that from a digital perspective is where I come into play.
Great, Amanda. And then again, Bruce Taragin, Blumberg Capital. We're an early stage venture fund just a few blocks away from here, and actively investing in innovative technologies around social, mobile, digital. We have offices in Israel and a bunch of companies on the East Coast and West Coast, and actually in Germany and Canada as well. So we're pretty much geographically agnostic in investing in a lot of early stage technologies, going back to security companies like Checkpoint Software, and more recently in the social side, companies like Hootsuite, and then on the digital side, companies like Double Verify and stuff around the cloud, and mobile as well, companies like Appleway. I think some of the Appleway team are here as well. So I think one of the things we really wanted to hit on and get some perspective from Amanda, from Jiffy Lube's perspective, and from Jim as well with SQ1, is what was kind of broken, I guess, over the last 12 or 24 months, and what did you do with technology to sort of innovate and try to, I guess, solve this problem that existed, or what, if anything, what was sort of the problem, what was the solution, if you can?
Yeah, so at Jiffy Lube, being part of Shell, we were in a unique position in that I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody, but a lot of the oil companies are not at the forefront of digital technology. And so Jiffy Lube really started to jump into the pay-per-click game about 2.5, 3 years ago, and started to think about how we could evolve that. We are a franchise-operated and owned model in Jiffy Lube, so while we do have some control from a corporate perspective, we have multiple audiences. We have customers, we have the search engines, and we have our franchisees. So we, as a corporate level, can only advertise a certain amount of a discount for an oil change. We can only advertise $5 off. In a lot of markets, that just doesn't cut it. I don't know about you guys, but I'd love a bigger discount than that when I go and get my oil changed. And a lot of our franchisees were saying the same thing. So it came down to how do we localize and personalize our national pay-per-click program so that it's the most effective in each individual market. We looked around for technology that existed. We spoke quite in depth with our Google team, and they could not find a tool or a model that existed. And so that's where we came to SQ1, and they helped us develop a tool.
So I'm just curious also, let's just jump to the audience for a second. Anyone else here running a franchisor or franchisee type of business by any chance? Hands up if there's anyone. Maybe it's that same person who loved Jiffy Lube.
Maybe some.
No, and I guess I'm curious, maybe just to classify some of the audience as well. Are there, if you're an entrepreneur with a startup in the audience, are there a lot of folks running digital, some sort of digital mobile social strategy for their companies? Investors? Okay, so we have a fair mix, it seems like, of all the different folks. So, Jim, maybe from your perspective, how did you jump in, I guess, from your agency side to really help Amanda and Jiffy Lube?
So what we did, and actually one of the things that we're big believers in is there's intended benefits and then there's unintended benefits that you get from using different technology and different solutions. And what we found is that by creating what we call a portal, and if Jiffy Lube owned all their stores, it would be very easy to set up a pivot table, determine what you're going to do in different markets, and to test a bunch of things. But the franchisees did, because the franchise market and the way the laws work with that, we needed to have a separate tool built. So we built this portal that gave the franchisees the ability to localize their offers. And so instead of having one national campaign where we would say you kind of set it and forget it, we turned up and we had over 150 campaigns going at the same time. The intended benefit was we localized the offers and we got great returns. In fact, we improved performance by over 10 times. It wasn't 10%, it was by 10 times.
So can you quantify that? What was it before? What kind of results were you getting specifically? And I guess, Amanda, I'm curious then, like one of the big themes for us as an investor is big data. Can you talk to sort of how is this driven by actual data? Do you have some, do you maintain some of these data, results, and are you iterating and stuff in real time? Like how does that work?
We do. We have a pretty comprehensive database system that we work through our CRM, but they aren't connected the way they should be. So that's our future state, right? Connecting what we're doing on the digital strategy side with what we're doing from a CRM perspective in our database.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as metrics that we were able to see improvement on with our work with SQ1, we were looking at things like a click-through rate. I know that's a metric that quite a few people look at. And we were seeing click-through rates before an average of 3%. Now we're looking at upwards of 7%. And we were looking mainly at our actual conversions. That's where it matters, right? That's the bread and butter of it at the end of the day. And our conversion rates went from about 29% to we're looking between 50 and 60% in every market. So pretty dramatic increases. And those increases are turning into cars at the service centers in a resounding way.
And I think what Jiffy Lube really embraced was taking the model from looking at the campaign performance all the way to return on sales. So we're measured now. We convinced Jiffy Lube and said, let's look at what the return on average sales is going to be and eventually what the profitability is going to be for the program. So before, it was every coupon, the cost for redemption was somewhere around $100, say, before we even jumped in from the previous agency. We're now running at about $10 per coupon. So the efficiency, and we're spending a lot more money than we did before, so it's scalable at the same time.
But, and I'm curious, Amanda, and we touched on this before, but were you using any existing off-the-shelf technologies, any startups or more established companies what were you sort of using technologically previously, and what were you using, for this, fantastic type of results?
Yeah, you're looking at her.
Yeah.
Technology. No, we really looked around really hard to find a type of technology that would help us automate this. Because you can imagine with over 2,000 service centers and markets, coast to coast, that's quite an undertaking. So like I said, we worked really closely with our Google account team to try and figure out what type of technologies existed. And to their knowledge, and they went out and researched as well, they couldn't find anything that would help us fit our needs, which is why we turned to SQ1 to develop this proprietary functionality.
Mm-hmm. So Jim, maybe talk a little bit on your side. So it's amazing when you think about it that in today's day and age, there was no solution in the marketplace for this problem. And then Google searched, I guess, or maybe tried to create something as well. So Jim, it sounds like your group actually developed it, internally, is that right?
Yeah, so we developed this, and it's really pretty simple. It's a way for franchisees to go in and determine what offers that they want to have in markets. The unintended benefit that we got out of this, though, is by localizing the campaigns, we found out that our bid strategy, keyword strategy, those types of things really do matter market by market. So it wasn't a national, we didn't have a national program.
So give us an example, if you can, where in one market you were seeing X and another market Y or something to that effect, if you can.
Well, you have a couple examples.
Yeah, so it's interesting market by market what customers, how they search. Very few people actually look for, there are quite a few searches, but when people are really down in the funnel and ready to purchase, very few people just look for oil change by itself. They're going to include a geographic qualifier, whether it be a zip code or a certain part of the neighborhood or a city. They get very specific. Think about how you search, and quite a bit is on mobile. So we've targeted our allocation from mobile and desktop desktop based on the market and what we're seeing, as well as some of the keyword and language that we're using. So we have a lot of zip code qualifiers in there down to actual neighborhoods and parts of town that people can call.
So that's interesting. So how much of your strategy kind of was maybe over the last 24 months on the mobile side versus, this initiative that you guys launched together, and what's your prediction on the penetration on mobile that you're expecting over the next
It's
couple of years?
shifted pretty dramatically. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone in the room, but in August of last year, mobile search queries for oil change and related keywords actually surpassed desktop, and it was one of the first categories to do so on Google. Mobile traffic to our website in general right now accounts for between 50 and 60%. So mobile is a huge component now, where it wasn't necessarily 24 months ago. It was just kind of a blip on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense if you think about people have a need when they're in their car and that light goes on and let out a few curse words, and you pick up your phone and you do a search to try and figure out where you can get this done and how quickly you can get this done.
And then, I don't know if you have the data, are you seeing, for example, across mobile, the different platforms, is it, iOS or?
iOS is by far the majority in terms of the mobile platform, but we specifically tailor a lot of our technologies that we're building now for both iOS and Android.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to know in the oil change industry, there's like this year they're projecting over 100 million searches. It's the fastest growing category for service, and what's happening is a lot of people are playing in that. The car or the tire dealers, the car dealerships, everybody's using oil changes as a cost of entry, kind of like getting a free turkey at Thanksgiving. So that makes it more competitive.
I like that. Better than the rodeo.
It's better than
the turkey. We get the turkey. We're working on it. And so, what are some of the other, putting aside this strategy that you work with SQ1 on, Amanda? What are some of the other technologies Jiffy Lube has embraced over the last 12 or 24 months? And what can each of you comment on maybe the future? What do you expect the future to look like?
Sure. So we've really opened up the spigot to look at what's possible. We are really trying to figure out the best way to make this experience more enjoyable for customers. Jiffy Lube helped pioneer the quick lube industry, and as a whole, we're the 800-pound gorilla in the room. But that's like kind of being the dentist with the biggest needles who can pull your teeth out the fastest. It's still an anxiety-filled experience, and we want to make this an easier experience for customers where they feel good about their decisions and their car maintenance. So we are looking to the future at personalizing and localizing our digital strategies more so than we've ever looked at it. We looked around in the industry and couldn't find anyone doing this very well. So again, we're using SQ1 to help pioneer where we're taking the next iteration of our online assets, particularly our websites.
So can you go a step further in terms of give me an example of what that personalization or localization might look like over the next 12 to 24
Sure.
months?
So we're going to allow consumers to be able to see their service records online from their history at Jiffy Lube, in addition to seeing what their OEM recommends. So Jiffy Lube uses the same recommendations as car dealers, and a lot of times it's not known throughout the consumer set there. So we are putting those out online and putting that information in front of customers, and we're helping to create assets and videos and resources to help educate customers on the actual experience and how to change your oil, how to change a cabin air filter, things like that, which might seem counterintuitive since we're showing them how to do it, but we're really invested in helping our customers feel like they understand the process and that they know what to expect when they come into a Jiffy Lube.
So for example, are you guys doing anything across YouTube, Twitter, anything like that?
YouTube is coming. Yep, we're in the process of developing several videos right now. As I mentioned, that are more of an educational piece, a how-to type of strategy, and we're working closely with the Google team on that as well.
Got it. And then, Jim, from your side, what do you envision in terms of what are you seeing both as relates to Jiffy Lube or maybe some of the other brands that you're working with as well as kind of what are you sensing as top priorities, must have at this point going forward for some of the different brands that are here in the room and, obviously for, some of the things you've done with Jiffy Lube or that you expect to do with Jiffy Lube or some of the other brands that you're working with?
Well, it's always a challenge working with companies that are pretty low engagement. As Amanda said, it's anxiety or you just don't want to do it. You have a lot of other choices. There's really not a tremendous amount of brand loyalty. So, our job, the beauty is we're not an e-commerce business with Jiffy Lube. You can't order it and it's not going to get delivered to your house. So we're not competing with Amazon for this particular client. But the whole goal of taking Jiffy Lube, which is a great opportunity they're very agnostic. They don't care if you have a BMW or a Ford or, well, I guess they would care if you had a Tesla since you don't get your oil change with a Tesla. But it's personalizing that and giving the consumer the ability to manage their fleet of cars or their cars in a way that that they feel like that they can be trusted. So.
And then, I think I would add from our perspective as an early stage investor, I would completely agree with you. The whole concept of personalization, localization, kind of, this second or third generation of this social, mobile, geo-based types of solutions, I think that we're going to see for, hopefully the Jiffy Lubes and some other brands in the audience. So guys, here's the challenge for, folks in the room. Any questions that you want to throw at any one of us, either at Jiffy Lube or SQ1 or myself as an early stage investor. I can't say it looks like there's a mic over there if anyone wants to throw their hand up. And
there's a question, yay.
So when do you see the person coming into your ecosystem? Do you have mostly win-backs, or do you have more people that you go out and kind of dig out who've never been with Jiffy Lube before, a first-time customer? That's the first question. The second question is, when do you think Teslas will have 100%?
Only one question per person.
No, that's a great question. We're constantly looking at retention versus acquisition. And obviously, we want to retain customers. So that's a really heavily focused goal for us, is retaining customers. But we try to focus that more on our CRM platform. As I was mentioning, in the future, we're looking to really tie those two together, so there's not a gap between the two. We use our digital strategies on the paid media side right now really as an acquisition method, whereas we channel our retention method through CRM. Like I said, in the future, we're looking to bring those together.
And 20 years.
And I'll tell you a funny story. Amanda's boss is talking about buying a Tesla, and I told him if I were his boss at Shell, I'd fire him if he did that. He doesn't seem to care.
I'm curious, Amanda or Jim, from your perspective, any advice you'd want to share with the folks in the room on, some lessons learned, takeaway for any other brands that are trying to either innovate or, entrepreneurs or what have you in the audience? What would be some, your key piece of advice that you might share?
I'll give, no matter whether you're selling technology, you're a customer, you're an agency, or whatever, I'm the oldest guy in the room, I'm sure. And what I'll tell you is every presentation I see is the same. Everyone's promising the same thing. And what I would encourage people to do is to tell people what makes you different. What makes you different from everybody else, and how do you focus on results? Because that's what people are really going to care about is that. Because, even in Amanda's case, they've said it at Shell many times, we didn't know what we didn't know. Because our presentation really, our pitch was really no different than anybody else's too. It's just getting the results.
Amanda?
I would say whether you're looking at a big franchisee-owned brand or if you're looking at a startup, to me, the most important lesson that I've learned when you're looking at all of your digital strategies is do real company stuff. And I learned that from a speaker at MozCon recently. But doing what's best for your customers and for your company, you'll be successful in digital. If your bottom line, your bottom goal is how can you help your customers, how can you make their lives better, how can you make their lives easier, then you'll succeed, right? Your strategies will fall on top of that. If that's your bottom line, that's what you're looking at doing.
Great. Guys, we're out of time, but I don't know if the audience is willing to indulge us. Is the audience willing to indulge us for 30-second speed round of questions? It's just a quick question with a one-word answer. Audience, we got a thumbs up? I'm not getting a response. I don't know if it's the blind. Okay, I'm getting, this is like Gladiator. We got the thumbs up. All right, so again, this is speed round. We got 1 minute. Most influential person in your life?
Oh gosh, in the industry, I would say Rand Fishkin from Moz. Outside of that, I would say, of course, my mom.
Okay.
Oh wow, most Ronald Reagan.
All right, Apple. I like it. Apple. One-word response.
Technology.
Android.
Google.
I drink the Kool-Aid.
Greedy.
sushi.
Sushi. Most useful app.
Oh, Uber.
United.
You travel a lot. Favorite city on that note.
Houston.
San Antonio.
App you wish you had created.
Candy Crush. It's like cocaine.
I think we have to, I don't know if the press got that.
Uber.
Oh yeah, I heard you got into a fight with one of the cab drivers.
I did yesterday. I was almost thrown out of the cab and did not like Uber.
Company you would love to be the CEO of.
Uber.
It's like an owl.
Weird answer, but Buc-ee's. Oh, you know, it's a gas station chain. Weird, but
I think if you have to tell people what it is, I don't it's not going to fly here in the Bay Area. Favorite movie?
oh, anything terrible, and the more romantic the comedy, the more predictable it is.
I just need an answer.
Anything romantic comedy, I'm terrible too.
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. What did you want to be when you were in 6th grade?
A golfer.
No, all right, there's still time.
Oh, an actress.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
think we're done. Guys, thanks. This is great. Appreciate it.